Hey, what's up, everybody? Cinephile Mike here. We are in season 4 of award season reviews. We're counting down to the 98th Oscars in 98 reviews in 98 days. Quick reminder, if you don't want to miss any of these reviews, you know what you gotta do. Click that subscribe button. Look, we are getting ready to wrap up our 7th theme week, which is almost going to get us to that halfway mark. We're looking at documentary week, and I am ending with some of the documentaries that did grab those coveted nominations this week. Today, I'm talking about the one that kind of came out of left field to grab a spot, Mr. Nobody Against Putin. Written and directed by David Borenstein and co-directed by the subject of our doc and cinematographer Pavel Pasha Talankin, the film was Denmark's official entry for international feature, and while not landing that category, it did get the documentary one. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival last year, where it won the Special Jury Award, which enabled it to enter the Oscar race. Mr. Nobody Against Putin is a documentary built from the inside out. Shot over the course of several years by Pavel Pasha Talankin, the film takes place largely within Karabakh Primary School No. 1, a small school in an industrial Russian town often described as one of the most polluted places on earth. Pasha works as the school's videographer and events coordinator. Now, that position becomes something far more complicated in February 2022 when Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine triggers the implementation of a new federal patriotic education policy that radically reshapes daily life inside the school. Under this new mandate, Pasha's job shifts almost overnight. He is required to film and upload daily state-sanctioned patriotic events to a government portal as proof of compliance. Students are reciting scripted slogans, singing propaganda-heavy songs, and participating in militarized displays meant to justify and support the war. Disillusioned by his role as a propagandist, Pasha initially resigns and responds to a casting call seeking individuals whose jobs were altered by new government policies. When he is contacted by director David Borenstein, however, Pasha rescinds his resignation and recognizes that the position that he's has inside the school offers rare and dangerous access, but he begins documenting the transformation of the institution, intent on what he describes as, in his words, filming the abyss that the school is sinking into, which hits him hard because he was an alumni of this school. So seeing this trajectory, and as we see him, accumulate this footage, this film goes beyond just classroom propaganda, but also to reveal the human cost. We meet some of his former students as they're aging out of school, but they still come to visit. They had a rapport with Pasha. Some of them are pulled toward military service, and we see how enlistment, reverberates through the families and the wider community. And what begins as documentation of policy enforcement really becomes this intimate and, disturbing record of fear, guilt, and complicity that culminates in moments where Pasha even films some of the farewell parties for his students heading to the front lines, and later, yeah. What makes the film immediately compelling is how the film's constructed almost entirely from Pasha's point of view. Every frame we see inside the school exists because he was officially tasked with filming it, even as he quietly repurposed that, information for a different purpose. The footage is captured under, kind of a false sense of pretenses, at least as far as the school and the state are concerned. And that tension never dissipates, especially when we learn that certain coworkers are expressing concern about the actions that he's doing, recognizing his anti-government views. His near-constant voiceover really grounds the film emotionally and structurally, turning it into a first-person document of a moral conflict, as opposed to just kind of looking into what's happening. So there is that bit of emotional... a lot of emotional connection. We're not being told what to think by outside people looking in. We're going along with Pasha as he's experiencing this firsthand. The film avoids, the conventional talking head interviews, which, would probably feel unsafe in this context. So instead We have some footage of Pasha asking questions of his colleagues, his students, the former pupils, and just allows their responses to unfold on camera. And because they believe it's being recorded for one purpose, they're probably a lot more free than they would have been if they'd known what was going on. The casualness is a little disarming when you watch some of it, and it makes it so much more revealing as you go. It's further contextualized through, this carefully placed news footage and historical documents drawing unsettling parallels between the current Russia-Ukraine war and narratives that are rooted in World War II. The comparisons are never over-explained, but they do linger, suggesting that idea that, sometimes history is bound to repeat itself if we do not learn from it. From a craft standpoint, the film is very lean and very purposeful. Editors Rebecca Lundquist and Nikolai Monberg, they really keep the story moving at a brisk pace. They shape who knows how many hours of footage and content into a tight, roughly about 89 minutes that wastes little time establishing the stakes or the intent. Michael Rataj and Jonas Struck's score is used sparingly but effectively, surfacing at key moments to heighten unease rather than dictate emotion, and is effectively used in the bookends of the two film. And the result is just a documentary that moves very quickly, communicates its message with clarity, and doesn't lose sight of urgency. Mr. Nobody Against Putin doesn't just document a system, it captures how easily ordinary spaces, become instruments, and how, dangerous it is to quietly push back against the system. Okay, let's talk box office and awards. As of this recording and posting, the film was just released in select theaters this weekend, so it doesn't have any box office receipts to report as yet. Critically, for the third time this season, right now, Mr. Nobody Against Putin has 26 critical reviews, all resulting in a 100% on the tomato meter. No audience scores as of yet, so I don't have a popcorn meter. Award season-wise, in addition to its Oscar nod for Best Documentary and the special jury prize that it won at Sundance, it was also nominated at Sundance for World Cinema Documentary. In addition, there were about a dozen or so critic circles and film festivals that awarded or nominated the film for different prizes. And in addition to the Oscar, it is also competing for Outstanding Producer of Documentary Motion Pictures by the Producers Guild of America. So where do I land? Another necessary and again, a one-time watch, and it will sit. Mr. Nobody Against Putin, 5-star documentary. It's probably going to start getting a lot of attention with the Oscar nod and the release. It is currently in select theaters, or you can rent or purchase it on most digital platforms. And I believe for a limited time, Daily Motion has it on their website, streaming with commercials. All right. There you have it. The Powerful Week Documentary Week. Thank you all for joining me for episode 48 of Award Season Review Season 4. We got 50 days left. Stay with me. We're almost there. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, drop your thoughts in the comments. You can follow me everywhere on social platforms, on Letterboxd, and of course, head over to cinephilemike.com for even more reviews and movie goodies. I'll be back tomorrow with the next review, but until then, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.